I guess we've all got pretty long stories about why we're here, but ultimately I like sport, and I started to watch cricket because a colleague that I work with in the NHS said come to Trent Bridge, and I did. And I often say, and I've been quoted a lot on this, that I used to sit here with a racing post and a cheese and pickle sandwich in the sunshine watching cricket, because and that was for me a real switch off. And then because of my day job in the NHS, I was doing a lot of work on social inclusion and working with communities. And so I think I got approached because I was actually speaking at a conference as an NHS director, and Derek Brewer, who was then chief exec, was there. And we were talking about then what we now know is the Community Sports Trust, and about how that was, kind of in the early days of becoming a concept. And then from that, very long story short, I was asked whether I was interested to be, one, on the Community Sports Trust as a trustee if that got off the ground, and then secondly, on the committee. Being on the committee is slightly different though, because I did apply to be on the committee and I didn't get voted on. I'm sure I didn't get voted on because I was probably quite different. I don't think I am different at all, but I was a woman that was put in to be elected, and I didn't get on. I didn't get on. And so I think just by coincidence and luck, and I think this is very important with the nominations element now, there was an opportunity to look at how to co-opt someone, because I think someone left unexpectedly. So I came on, and then after that, I was elected time and time again. I've been on the committee now 13 years, and we've got a lot of years between us, haven't we? So, but I am going to say it's been a brilliant time. But my first walking into the committee room, which is quite a kind of momentous place if you've not been there before, with all my then committee colleagues, someone said to me, "What are you here for?" And I said, "I'm on the committee." "Oh, we've never had a woman on the committee before. The last lady didn't last." So, no, it wasn't you, Pete. Honestly, it wasn't you. So, I mean, I think there is something about, look, that was only 12, 13 years ago. The way that we work in cricket and in sport and in Trent Bridge and leading inclusion and diversity is the big thing. So it's a good question how I started. Yeah. And I have to say, I've got a daughter and a granddaughter who absolutely adore coming here, and my grandson. And I think for them or for me, it's been a real family thing as well. So, yeah.
Now, Peter, I guess yours is very different to that.
Yeah. I'd been asked a few times. I still played cricket till I was about 45. And then I finished playing cricket, and the natural progression, really, I suppose, was to keep involved in cricket. And people kept asking me if I was interested in joining. And eventually I joined. At that stage, you had to be a member for 2 years.
Yes, and how long ago was that when you joined?
That's 21 years ago.
Wow.
And at that stage, the committee was different. We had 12 men on there, mainly ex-cricketers or current cricketers at different levels. And it was run, really the committee was run as a cricket committee, if you like, in a sense. Although we all had different skills. But it's changed now, obviously. Kate coming on for the first time. And then obviously we've got ethnic minorities coming on since then, and we've had the same with the chairman, president rather. So yeah, it's changed a lot. And
for the better.
For the better. Well, the thing is then, we had, with the 12 guys...
No detriment to what went before.
We were obviously discussing cricket a lot.
Yes,
but we had professionals on there as well,
yeah.
In the same way as we have now. It's just that now it's a lot more diverse. The world's changed, and more people have had the opportunity to come on the committee and have the chance to apply to the committee. And now with the nominations committee as well, we've got an extra way of coming on. So yeah, it's changed a lot, and I think a lot better now. I mean, certainly I've seen a major difference in the last 3 years. Or 2 years, should I say.
Massively changed, yeah.
And the way, that, not just that, the way the clubs run, the way the actual cricket's run, it's a lot more professional. It was a very, I wouldn't say semi-professional.
No, but it was run as I was going to say a gentleman's club, that's perhaps
They
unfair,
always was.
but I think that's what it was.
And it's a business, isn't it? And
Yeah,
for you as
yeah,
treasurer,
yeah.
you know, that's one of the things that, you know, this is a multi-million-pound business.
It is.
as well.
It's a business. In the end, it's a business. And I think when I first joined, which is quite young compared to you, I only came on 9 years ago. It was very much more, felt like a gentleman's little club, if you like, whereas it's become much more professional and much more diverse. But for myself, I came to Trent Bridge when I was 10, 11. I went to school nearby. I used to come after school. And so I spent a lot of time here after school in cricket. I was never a very good cricketer, so I never really got involved. My friend was a very, very good cricketer, so I spent a lot of time with him coming to cricket and then local cricket as well. And obviously I love all sports. Anybody who knows me, I've been involved in most sports. I'm very much a sports background. But then my children, I got to come, and they went to school locally, so they also used to come to this ground after school, and the stewards looked after them when they were pretty young, and then I just was able to let them just come.
He was a scorer at the club I went to play for.
My son was a scorer at the club you played for, that's absolutely right. So they got embedded in cricket, and I met a solicitor when I was doing some work, and he was the chairman of what was then called the Trent Bridge Juniors Parents Committee. So there was Trent Bridge Juniors, which is a supporters club of the younger members, and there used to be lots of activities that they did. And he asked me if I'd come on the committee, and then unfortunately he died not long after that, and I ended up as the chairman of that for a few years and got very involved in the club and knew most of the committee members and everything else. And I decided to put forward to the committee. So I put my name forward and went for election, but unfortunately a certain cricketer who'd just retired put forward, i.e. Derek Randall, and obviously he got on and I didn't. I then left it and got involved in other things, but then because my firm were the major sponsors for many years of the cricket club, I got close to the cricket club again, and when I retired, before I retired, but when I retired, I'd asked if I could become a trustee of the trust, because that was what really interested me, was the trustee of being a trustee of the Trent Bridge Community Trust, which was doing great work with young people, and that's where I felt I wanted to put back into the community. And so,
isn't it a thing that we've all kind of saying a story where we knew someone or we were part of something that made us feel kind of quite comfortable, or maybe, you know, drew us into the club that then drew us into being elected or wanting to be part of the club. But actually now, I think what we need is lots of new and, you know, kind of multi-skilled mixed people.
More diversity.
Cricket's really important. You've got to love cricket, there's no but.
Definitely.
But actually,
I think
you've
that's
also
the
got to
main
want
part,
to
isn't
have
it?
part of that kind of governance and community and families and everything else.
Yeah.
And
So I think there's a lot more to it.
With us leaving, you know, it's a chance for lots of new people to come on, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, you know, we've harnessed a lot of skills now.
Yeah.
But I think to join the committee, or want to join the committee, you've got to have a passion, first and foremost, for Notts cricket. If you think you can make a contribution that's going to help develop the club further.
Yeah, but you can, I mean, I guess my passion for cricket and for Nottinghamshire probably was different to yours, and my passion and my knowledge has grown massively.
Yeah.
You know, but with that is also bringing in other knowledge, isn't it, around, you know, I do a lot of work in the public sector or whatever, but also around, you know, I think one of my proudest moments, it goes back quite a long way, is when we won the first time hosting the Ashes and leading the first day of the Ashes, when I remember the red arrows going across and all of those elements.
Yes.
But it was actually because we brought in together that bid that was around community benefit to this ground in the cricket. And that was really something. I remember my heart absolutely beating that day when.
Yes, I mean, unfortunately, I was watching but not involved in the cricket. But I imagine that must have been a very proud moment for the whole club, for the committee, for the management and everybody.
And the way they awarded the test match packages has changed totally as well.
Yeah.
In the old days, the test match grounds, you used to have a package or a period of time where they were guaranteed test cricket, in which they could loan money against. That changed, obviously, and nowadays
Very
a
different.
different package. You
Yeah,
apply
right.
for a package and you get that particular package of games. So I think and that's down to the executive, obviously, who do a great job making sure we get the right.
So back to how the committee's changed, I think, from when you first came on. Obviously, you've indicated it's very much more diverse, and I think that's the thing that I find we've got. Whereas it was, and this, it's not to the detriment of the cricket, but it has got a focus of people with different skills, taking us into a much wider remit in terms of Trent Bridge and what it does. And I think that's the big difference I found in that with people coming from very different backgrounds from when I first joined, which was very different.
I mean, one of the things I note from kind of the nominations and electing, just talking to people coming onto the committee or maybe thinking about coming on the committee, is kind of what does Trent Bridge mean? You know, and you talk about the Oval, or you talk about Lords, or you talk about Cardiff or whatever, but Trent Bridge is a very much a family. You know, you look around the ground. I mean, we're about to have the West Indies and the Test, and you know, you see obviously the same kind of cricketing crowd. But I think I was in London yesterday working, and I knew where I was, there was a lot of people going to Lords. I think we have a much younger family-based crowd here, particularly with the geography we are as well around diversity. So I think there is something about, if you want to be on this committee, then there's a real celebration, isn't there, of kind of broadening out who wants to come to Trent Bridge, why you want to come to Trent Bridge, and the women's games really been a game changer as well as the county games.
It's made I think the 100 for me has made a huge difference in terms of who is going to cricket. I mean, I now make it a day for my family. So
I know you
my
talked to us about
my children,
day
my
with all
great
your
grandchildren,
family.
so my children and my grandchildren. So there'll be 14 of us who'll come on a Saturday, just all together, and it's great for me because it's enabling me to get my grandchildren interested in cricket, because you know cricket doesn't always touch everybody, and I think that's one thing we've got to work on in the days when I was younger and when you were younger. At school we played cricket. A lot of people don't play cricket at school anymore.
But I think that's where it's changed now, isn't it? I mean, whereas before it was traditional county cricket, test cricket, the odd one-day game, and traditional supporters came, as you've just alluded to now. We've got different concepts that we play now that attract different people. Yeah. So it's opened the game up to a lot more people. Consequently, in the last 6 years in particular, our committee's changed dramatically. Yeah. Compared to the first sort of 14 years I was on the committee.
Yeah, it was very sameish, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we could count with, what is it, we've got something like 42 years of committee experience. I've been on the committee 12, 13 years. Pete, how long have you been
21.
on?
And me 9. So
9. So yeah, this is 44, a lot of years, isn't it?
Well, again, that's changed, hasn't it, now with the Sports England Directive and the new governance where a maximum of 3 terms of 3 years. So we're getting a quicker turnover of people.
I was able to get on the committee because one of the members had to retire because of our old rules that when you got to 70 you had to come off.
Well, that's why we're here, isn't it?
Because
we're all going.
Well, we're going
but slightly different reasons.
Do you know, if there's one thing that I'd like to say as part of doing this little kind of promo and video to people, whoever's watching this, there is no that shouldn't consider not thinking about could I be on the committee. I mean, I think in life it's great, isn't it, to sort of have push and think about what it is that you want to do. I'd love to see younger people on.
Yes.
I won't say we've just got first 22-year-old MP in Parliament.
So anybody can achieve.
And there's just so much that we can do. I mean, I think at all ages. I wasn't. I think all ages, and I kind of.
Well, it was a little bit more difficult when it was just through the members, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because they were nominated by members, seconded by members. Yeah. With the nominations committee now, we're seeing a lot more diversity coming through the nominations going forward.
And that process is enabling us to spot what we need, as opposed to just the sameness of the people voted on. And that's not against that. We need members to be pushing to come on to the committee.
Yeah, but it's kind of what happens, because I think we're much more about working together. We have, kind of different days when we explore the strategy and what our visions are, what the business is, how we can, kind of be part of what the ECB regulations are, quite rightly at a time when we're looking at everything which is about making the sport attractive and inclusive. But also, we also want to win, let's be honest about
Absolutely,
it. And the
we do.
Blaze have just won,
Yes.
the Charlotte Edwards Cup.
Yeah,
So, that's what we also want as a committee, isn't it?
And that's just because we've talked about this diversity and not so much focused on the cricket. In the end, we need winning teams to be out there.
At the end of the day, it's a cricket
Club, correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but like I was talking about, the skills we're talking about, with our subcommittees, we can expose all those skills, whether it's finance, whether it's cricket, development. So we're looking for people that's got
diverse skills.
Diverse
and what the subcommittees we've got
Finance, Audit and Risk Committee, obviously. Then we've got the Cricket Committee.
Yeah.
What else have we got?
Ground development.
Development, yes, obviously we work
and
on that.
Quality and diversity posts, safeguarding, also the
And
community
then we've got the
sports
trust,
And then obviously the Community Trust, which obviously is close to our hearts.
And the nominations panel.
And I think from a point of view of people, the amount of time they're going to spend, if they're on the committee, there's probably about 14, 15 meetings a year between general committee and sub.
Yes.
And then it's a matter of how involved they want to get, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So
how much they want to be at the ground.
Yeah. So we don't want anybody to be put off by worrying about the time. But I know that those people who are busy are good at finding ways of managing it, aren't they, Kate?
Yeah, and I think one of the other things is, and I've been asked this question, and we have other things in our lives. We have families, we have kids, we have, I've got full-time employment, I think we've got that as a committee better, haven't we? We've looked at how we have online as well as in person, the times of the day, kind of the way that we absolutely have to commit to the committee and the number of meetings we come to, like any board or any governance.
Yeah.
But I think there's much more around how that can be, if you're thinking about it.
A bit more flexible, flexibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, with the Zoom meetings now, if you can't make the meeting in person, you can always get online and attend in that way as well, can't we now?
Yeah.
There's pretty good technology at Trent Bridge, isn't there?
Yes. And that's the big change that we've seen in the last few years. Obviously, COVID had a lot to do with that, but it's moved the world forward for us in terms of being able to access that. So I don't think anybody should be put off by worrying about the time commitment, because there's a flexibility around it that can make it possible for you to be involved.
Yeah. And I think there's always, because as you're saying, Pete, the sort of rolling programme of the constitution of people coming in for 3 years and having the opportunity of being re-elected and staying on for a period of time, there's always experience in the committee.
Yeah.
There's always a way of us building together. I think when I came on that, I felt quite a newbie for quite a long time. And I think we're much better kind of at making quite sure that newness and oldness all come together very quickly.
Yeah.
And then what those skills and talents are as well.
I think because it's a lot more diverse now, Kate. I mean, coming in as the First Lady, probably...
I still get that after 13 years. I still get it.
So coming in like that, you're saying you felt a little bit like a newbie.
Yeah.
Nowadays, if a lady comes on the committee, I mean, we've got 4.
Yeah.
We have.
So the chief executive as well as female.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so it's not something unique.
No, not at all. And it's irrelevant now, isn't it? That's the point. It's irrelevant whether you're a man or a woman. Doesn't matter.
I smile with, kind of a little bit of humour, which I think is what also happens on the committee.
Absolutely, it does.
But I smile because actually, we've all kind of come on. I've learned so much from you around cricket. Thank you very much. Maybe some people have learned some stuff from me around inclusion and public sector and bringing in what that means, and financial probity. It isn't about having to know how to do an exam on a spreadsheet inside out, is it?
No.
But it is about knowing that is
this
part
is a
of the
business.
business.
In the end of the day,
Yeah.
Trent Bridge is a business, and it's like any business out there. It has its challenges, and
Well, being
finance
on
is
the
a big
committee
issue.
breaks down a lot of the myths you think about. of being a committee member or how the club's run. You know, you get to learn the inside track of what's actually happening and what we're trying to achieve here.
So I'm going to ask you what's been one of your most important highlights?
I think the most important highlight was getting on the committee.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
I think once you got on the committee and realised you could help to make a difference, that was pretty cool, really.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there any particular game that sticks, or any player that sticks in your mind?
The game that sticks in my mind was the test match here against Australia when Brodie got bowled them out in the morning, and I was sat next to Rodney Marsh and Chris Broad.
Wow.
And I turned around to Brodie and said, he's ruining the game. And he wasn't very happy. And neither was Marshy.
I can remember because we were hosting the ECB, and the ECB had all decided, or some of the members had decided to have breakfast, and of course the 3 wickets had gone down really quickly. It was a really good game. Yeah.
So that was a highlight of games-wise.
Yeah. And I would pick up 2 things, perhaps 3. One was actually, again like you, getting on that committee and actually going in that committee room. Yes, I had gone in a little bit as a guest early on, but when I was an 11-year-old boy coming into this ground and getting into the pavilion and getting thrown out by the stewards because I wasn't a member, the thought that I'd ever be in that committee room, which I saw as like a holy of holies, was mad. So that was
going to those steps.
Yes, that I never would have thought I'd ever got those steps. So that was one highlight of that. But from a games point of view, I mean, obviously I came in later than you. Yes, being at the test matches is the best thing in the world. But in terms of winning, for Notts, the T20 at Warwickshire in 2017, when we beat Warwickshire, was one of my highlights. You know,
But that's a perk of this job, isn't it?
Absolutely.
To actually be hosting a table during that test match.
that was the third thing I was coming on for. Absolutely, the privilege of being able to host people here at Trent Bridge. I mean, I love hosting in the committee room, particularly for county championship. You get to chance to chat with people from other counties, people who you never would meet normally, and I think that's a privilege of being on the committee.
I have to say that kind of weaving the Community Sports Trust into the committee and what that means for... Actually, Trent Bridge has really led the way across cricket on how to have a community sports trust, how to have charities, how to have inclusion, young people, dementia, all part of what we do and what we do for this. We're sitting on this with
community.
a huge great big geography around us. I feel dead chuffed with that, and you kind of think, don't you, what's your legacy as you're leaving somewhere? I'll be sad to leave the committee.
Of course we will. We all will.
As my granddaughter would say. But I just think, that's not going anywhere, is it? That's here to stay. So pretty damn.
I think that's perhaps we've got to remember that we are just a small cog in this evolution of this great club and great ground. And if we could feel we've left and leaving it better than when we arrived, there's nothing more heartwarming and nothing much more that you can feel grateful for that you've been able to have that chance to do that.
Yeah, we'll all be back though, won't we?
Yes. Whether they want us or not.